Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. TFC Seattle, rematch of the MLS Cup Finals. However, both sides are battling at the bottom of their respective conferences. Who would win? How would they win? Especially with both sides battling injuries. But don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, I'm going to briefly break down TFC against Seattle. TFC, the Seattle Sounders, rematch of the MLS Cup Final for the past two seasons. This time around, both sides battling at the bottom of their respective conferences. When we look at the board, someone needs to win here. We got TFC in the red, we got Seattle in the blue, TFC in a 4-2-3-1. They got Jovinko up front, Vasquez just in behind him. They have Chapman and Osorio on the flanks, they have Akeche, and they have Delgado in midfield. Seattle 5-4-1, Bruin up front, Buana and Akram in the flanks, and then we look at midfield, Delem and Roldan. What went right? What went wrong? TFC dominate possession from the offset. Obviously, Seattle missing a lot of key players here, looking to sit deep like they did with their first team at BMO Field, keep everything narrow, force TFC to break them down, and TFC had a few issues. TFC missing a few players. Obviously, down when they have a 4-2-3-1, they are missing Bradley deep in midfield, who has that range of passing to spread balls from one flank to the other, from side to side. Here, they were just a bit too narrow. You have Chapman coming in, you have Osorio wanting to come in, you have Vasquez floating in between the lines, and even though they are interchangeable, they can move into different positions. It was just so easy for Seattle to just kind of bog in deep there and just kind of hold out, play a bit higher, and kind of force TFC to go out to the flanks. When TFC did go out to the flanks, they obviously wanted to push men forward. They had the wide players sometimes come out there, but that wasn't a big trouble for the Seattle wingbacks in Francis and McRae. When they did push their fullbacks forward, they did have the wide players push out, and that was good. Seattle weren't really troubled in that respect, but they did have a few issues. One of the issues was that because they were sitting so narrow, you're thinking, how is TFC going to break them down here? Where are they going to find that outlet? One of the outlets was Jovinko's intent to break in behind and try to make darting runs into those spaces. We know he likes to play off the channels and into those spaces, so he'll drop deep, he'll move out to the flank. Obviously, we had these players kind of tucked in there. Then you have the box in there. Jovinko kind of trying to drift into those areas, obviously trying to play off his player. We look at the goal that they scored, the equalizer. It's Vasquez clipping the ball into him, and he makes that darting run. It does take a bit of a deflection, but it forces Fry out. He chips it over, and it's Osorio breaking in to nod his effort into the net. That was one opportunity. There was another opportunity where he broke in behind, got behind the line, didn't know he was onside, fired his shot wide of the net. But when you look at what TFC were trying to do in a nutshell, they were trying to get in behind those lines. The other aspect where they did very well was they overloaded the right side. It started from early on in the game. You had Chapman breaking into the half spaces. You had Osorio coming over sometimes and also pushing into that space. And what did help was that Akeche was also moving there. So yes, you have two players here, one looking for the wide player, one looking for the fullback. But when you have Akeche dropping in, when you have Osorio pushing into that space, they can't really all shift over, because then that leaves this whole side open. That's where TFC got their advantage. You look at a few chances that they did create. You have Chapman breaking in free on goal, flashing his shot inches wide from a pullback. You have Chapman dropping into that space, this time pulling it back for Jovinko. He fires his shot on goal. They were just finding a lot of space in this half space area. They were overloading that right side. That was pivotal to what TFC were doing in the first half. But besides all their dominance, when you look at how they conceded goals, you have to say it was very poor. You think about a counterattack, it's just Roldan clipping a ball into Akram. Bradley comes out, he beats him. Delgado comes out, he beats him. Then it's 1v1, slides in Bruin, he scores that goal. And that's obviously not the way you want to concede when you're TFC and you're thinking, we have full control of this game. They're not really harming us. And that's a big issue, because Seattle didn't really have a counterattacking threat. Bruin isn't the fastest player on the pitch. They didn't really create chances in open play. Roldan was excellent in a in his own right, really just setting the tempo of the game, retaining possession, playing passes to his teammates, ensuring that they could possibly get some room forward, trying to build something, but it didn't really work up to their best effort. But that was TFC in a nutshell in the first half. Getting Giovinco in behind, playing down those channels, and what really helped was that Ekeshe was dropping deep and clipping balls in. Vasquez was dropping off and clipping balls in. Giovinco looked good when he dropped into the space between the lines, because then it forced players to kind of push into him and foul him. He earned a lot of free kicks. He hit the post on one of his free kicks from 25 yards out. The other aspect here was that Seattle's pressing just wasn't that good. When you look at their midfield and how they're set up, we'll get Osorio back into his position, we'll get them back into their base shape. You would always have one kind of pushing out. It was often Roldan trying to push out to the deepest midfielder, but Ledem was kind of staying deep. So there was always space for TFC's players to find the ball between the lines, and that's where they can harm you. Obviously, in the second half, things changed. You look at Vasquez coming off, Telford coming on. That moved Telford out to the left. Now what happened was that they had actual width down that left-hand side. So what happened was that it pushed where they could be narrow in that sense. Now it pushed a man forward, and a lot of their play did come from that left. But when you have Telford there looking to cut in, he couldn't really deliver crosses into the box because there were no one running in there, no one with the aerial threat that Josie Altidore possesses. When you look at TFC's best chances in the half, it's Giovinco cutting in from the left, firing a tame shot at Stefan Frei. You think about Telford cutting in on Francis, pulling the ball back for Osorio, him beating the center back, but then splashing his shot wide of the net. But besides that, you can't really look at any TFC chances prior to their tactical change where they really looked like they were settled in this shape. Ekeshe wasn't getting balls over the top anymore. Giovinco could drop into those spaces, but no one was able to make runs in behind, and no one was willing to make runs in behind. When you think about it, obviously Seattle deserves some credit. Now they were more composed with their pressing. They had two men pushing onto Delgado. They kept narrow in that aspect. They dropped a bit deeper so runners couldn't get in behind them, and they were more compact, and that was pivotal. That led to TFC changes. Before TFC made those changes, the second goal came, the winner came. TFC, from a simple throw-in, you have to look at it, and even if we pull the players back, I don't think it could really do justice. It's from a throw-in, and once again, it's Roldan in this zone, picking up the ball from a throw-in, gets it, finds Bruin between the lines. He gets Bruin between the lines, and then what you have there is Buana just driving in. The ball is played into him behind the defense. He slides his effort past Bono. You have 2-1 there. Goal out of nothing, but once again, it's Roldan's composure in midfield that makes a difference. Bruin once again playing a key role, whether it be him finding space between the lines or finding space behind Vanderbilt to score a goal. They were able to make the difference there, and then TFC were forced into changes. Essentially, they became more of a 3-5-2. They brought on Ricketts, they brought on Jordan Hamilton. Giovinco dropped off a bit deeper. Chapman and Delgado came off, so it left the midfield with Ekeshe, Giovinco, and Osorio. They were unable to really create chances. Now when you look at it from this aspect, Morgan moved into center back. The wing backs pushed a bit higher, but now you could have wing back against wing back, and none of those TFC wing backs really made a significant difference in that aspect. You think about Oro and his one contribution where he delivered across the near post. Hamilton flicked it onto Ricketts, 1v1 with Frei, but Frei came out quickly and made the stop. But besides that, TFC were just lacking cohesion. They didn't really know what they were doing with the ball. You didn't have a connection here, no combination. Giovinco was dropping deep but not impacting the game. You have Ekeshe who wasn't stringing the passes that he was able to spring prior to in the first half, and then you have Osorio who, if he's not breaking into the box, doesn't have the passing range to really dissect the defense. So when you look at it from that aspect, Seattle were able to weather the storm, and when you break down the game in a nutshell, you have to think TFC were better with Vasquez and Ekeshe and Giovinco dropping a bit deeper. They were better when they overloaded the flank, but besides that, they did concede 2 goals that they should have done better in from a defensive aspect. Perhaps that's Vanderbilt and Bradley center back partnership. How long can you go with that partnership before you have to make a defensive change? Because they're not natural center backs. They're going to make mistakes. They were exploited here. Giovinco, not that great of a night for him. He's been terrific this season, but you have to look at it from the sense that when he wasn't breaking in behind, he wasn't really offering much. In the second half, he looked a bit lost. He was their only goal threat, and when besides him, if he's playing up front, you need someone who could play incisive passes. Delgado can't do it. Chapman can't do it. Osorio can't do it on a consistent basis. Vasquez can. Akeche can. When Vasquez came off, the game changed a bit, and this is possibly why he's one of their key players. But let me know what you guys think. Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.